Hello and welcome to Wordsmith's creative writing tutorials. This is only my second tutorial, which it just feels like I've done a lot, but maybe that's preparation, but okay. So you're gonna need to have the blog page open as well, so you'll find that on wordsmithcreativewriting.blogspot.com, and the way this files the entries, you'll have to probably search for the number if you're not doing it this week. So you'd have to look for number 111, which is this week's prompt. So 111 is outside. Write a description of what you can see through a window. Okay, that's fairly open. Could be any window you like, but let's kind of start with something a little bit technical. Now, something I've got a bit of a bugbear with is colour. Now, it's a proven fact that the blue that you see is not the same as the blue that I see. The particular combination of the cells in your eye that see colour mean that everyone's own opinion of blue is slightly different. Everyone's view of blue is slightly different, as with every other colour. So we use comparisons. We use sky blue to say kind of a very light blue, but if you look at the sky, it changes. It's quite dark further from the horizon and quite light close to the horizon. So just saying sky blue doesn't help. So we're going to try and build on that idea. So I want you to spend 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes, and take one colour. So it could be a primary, so blue, yellow, red, secondary, orange, green, purple, one of those colours, okay? And I want you to try and write down as many words for colours in that colour. If that makes sense. So with blue, excuse me, you've got a whole variance of colours like a denim colour, like navy, colours that are not necessarily blue, if you get what I mean. So they might have blue in their name, but they're a very particular kind of blue. Okay, so I'm expecting you to get around about 15, 20 in 5 minutes. If you can get more, that's great. Don't Google. Google will help you too much. So after 5 minutes, I've actually got 3 lists going because I'm a little bit of a colour geek. So in blue, I've got navy, royal blue, turquoise, sky blue, baby blue, ultramarine, indigo, cornflower blue, electric blue, denim, aqua, cyan, ocean, teal, cobalt, peacock, azure, cerulean, berry, sapphire and arctic. That's 21. Okay? Every colour over time we have used other colours, other words, phrases to clarify them in someone else's mind, because someone else's blue is different to ours. So if you can say a turquoise or a baby blue, then you can specify what kind of blue they're looking at. The same with, I've got a list of yellow here and a list of green, and I will put these up on the blog. I'm not going to go through them now. So you should have a nice list of about 20 words. If you haven't got the full 20, that's fine. Now I'll give you permission to go on Google and look them up. There are hundreds. Okay? So moving on to my idea for this writing piece. Now on the screen here, I'm going to put 4 very basic, very boring sentences. The sky was blue with white clouds. The grass was green. The forest was dark and black. The street was white with snow. Okay, nothing wrong with these sentences except they're a bit boring. They're a bit flat. So what I want you to do is look at these sentences and extend them to build them out into something interesting using as many colour words as you can. So I want you to try all 4. So try and build all 4 of them. So I'm going to give you 10-15 minutes. See what you can do. Now I call this one growing from coloured flowers, because essentially you're starting with the bud of a flower, the very first growth. The sky was blue with white clouds. Very basic. And then you're giving it more. You're giving it fertiliser, you're helping it along. This analogy is getting a bit strange, but okay, we'll go with this. So for my first one, the sky was blue with white clouds, I've ended up with 2 sentences because I wanted to separate out the blue and the white. That way it gives you opportunity to actually expand on and work on the colours. So if I just start with the sky was blue, okay? The sky was navy, almost black, fading to a bleached denim near the horizon, where a faded gold glow touched the chimneys of distant houses. So here I've separated my blue into navy and black and bleached denim with a little bit of faded gold. Okay, so I've built on something, because if you look at the sky, it's never one consistent colour. It's always slightly different towards the horizon, particularly when it comes to sunrise or sunset. Okay, so then moving on to the white clouds bit. So a few bulbous lilac clouds were massing in strange shapes and colours, bright silver bottoms contrasting indigo tops. So indigo being really, really dark blue, almost black again, and then silver and lilac. I think there is an interesting correlation when you look at sunrises and sunsets and look at the clouds. They gather really interesting colours because of the way the water droplets kind of refract and gather light. So I like that as an opening, okay? So what we're going to use is one of these 4 starters. So you had the sky was blue with white clouds, grass was green, the forest was dark and black, the street was white with snow. So pick one of those, whichever one you like out of the flowers you've created here, and then build on that for your writing piece, okay? So all will work for a view out of a window. I'm not going to say anywhere here that I'm looking out of a window, okay, in my written piece. You can do if you want to, but I think if you focus on describing the window and the frame and that kind of thing, it's taking away from the rest of it. So all we want is 3 or 4 paragraphs describing the view from a window. It can be any window you like. It can be your bedroom window, your front room window. It can be a window in a book. A window in Hogwarts would be interesting, okay? But we are focusing on shapes and colours that are happening. And I don't want it to be just a random collection of descriptions. Okay, this isn't a story, but you need to have some sort of flow. So think about the way in films and TV, the camera kind of guides your eye. It shows you one thing, brings you down to something else. So that's what we're going to try and do. We're going to flow from one section to another. So you could go from the sky down to houses and trees down to the street. Or you could go along a street from one house to another. Things like that. It's entirely up to you what flow you have, but try and build that flow in. You've got 3 or 4 paragraphs, so you've got time to kind of build it along the way. So I think this should be somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes of work. With these colour flowers I started with, so the sky was navy, almost black, fading to a bleached denim near the horizon where a faded gold glow touched the chimneys of distant houses. A few bulbous lilac clouds were massing in strange shapes and colours, bright silver bottoms contrasting indigo tops. Tiny crystal speckles swirled by, pausing lightly on rooftops, then away on the next gust. Bare branches of the tree-lined street reached into the frigid air, as if crying out for spring and fuchsia blossom and canopies of forest green. Waving spindly hands pleading for mercy from the winter sky. The implacable sunrise answered with more white flakes, and a new wind that found every crack or crevice and made the branches grow. Beneath the complaining branches, the muddy grass was already frosted with spikes of minty ice, growing paler by the minute as the snow began to gather and settle in fluffy billows that caught the growing light and seemed to smoulder burnt orange and lemon as the sun burst into the sky in cold canary yellow. Now that was a hard read for me, because that whole last paragraph was virtually one sentence with only 1 comma. So I had no moment of breath, which is a problem I have. I build my sentences way too long, way too complicated without the pauses. So I want you to pick up this last paragraph for me on the blog. And where would you put the pauses? Where would you put commas and punctuation? Build that in for me. Show me where I went wrong. So in general, I've built in definite colour here, but not as much as I could have done. So, where are we? Okay, so I'm talking of fuchsia blossoms and forest green, which is nice, nice contrasting kind of things. Both using the F sound, so you've got that slight link of assonance there. I'm using white flakes for snow. I'm not sure. The thing is, white is is a hard colour to work with, I think. Trying to get a list of different colours to go with white instead of white is kind of difficult. So that I need to work on, I think. So I've got, I like this little description of grass as minty ice. So you've got minty green growing paler because the snow is building up colour. So I like that. And then saying that the snow is catching the colour of the sunrise, which is burnt orange and lemon. So it gives it some warmth. But then using a cold canary yellow. Canary yellow isn't really cold, I don't think. It's quite a warm yellow. So I could have done something else there. So I think in 15-20 minutes I've kind of got halfway there. I'm not entirely perfect here. So I could have built in more colour and more detail. Definitely could have used a lot more punctuation in that last paragraph. But I think it's okay. What do you think? Now, I want you to look back at your own work. See where you could have added more, where you could have built more ideas, more colours, more details in. And just be honest with yourself. You know, if it's not quite right, that this is not quite right, you can say so and you can find out why it's not quite right. This is a whole part of the learning experience. So, now we're going to moving on to the reflection for this session. And I think I'll go back to the standard questions. So, first question is, I think the best part is because. Okay, so myself, I think the best part here is my fuchsia blossom and forest green. So using those F sounds to kind of separate out everything else. That's my best part. Because it uses a technique that I didn't realise I was doing. And it's a real contrast of colours. And my second question is, I was not successful with. Next time I will. So clearly, the punctuation in this last paragraph really wasn't successful. So next time I will think more about where the punctuation goes, where the reader needs to pause and wait before they move on to the next section. So look at your work, answer those two questions. I'll see you in 3. So I completely forgot to draw next week's number. So, okay. So we have number 37, which is, country mouse. So this is going to work on a really old-fashioned, not old-fashioned, it's kind of it was a Hans Christian Andersen, Country Mouse, Town Mouse. So if you want to look that up, you can do. Don't start writing yet. See you again next week.